Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to Dumb SEO Questions, episode 268. Each week we meet here to answer the questions asked on the SEO Questions community on Google+, and also on the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group. With us tonight we have Craig Campbell. Craig is an SEO trainer. He's based in Glasgow in the north, or in Scotland. Masataki Wasa. What's your website, Craig?
The website's www.craigcampbellseo.co.uk. Thank
you, mate. I'll try and remember that next time. Masataki Wasa is webmaster of wasaweb.net. He's also a Google top contributor on the AdSense community. Masataki can be found at wasaweb.net, wasaweb.net. He lives in Wimbledon, at the other end of the UK. And on the west coast of the USA, Micah Fisher-Kirshner has just started a new job. Have you moved into the new premises yet?
I have. Micah? I just started this week.
Cool. All right. Tim Capper is CEO of OnlineOwnership.com. He is based in Corby, about 100 miles north of London. He is a Google top contributor on the Google My Business community. And a Google top contributor on the Google Web Search community is William Rock. William is based in Arkansas. No, not Arkansas, Kansas. Kansas, in the west of the USA. Find William at williamrock.com. And I should have mentioned before, Micah Fisher-Kirshner is now the Director of SEO and Content at Turn/River Capital. All right, we've got 18 questions tonight, and let's get into them. First one is on creating, it's titled Creating Navigational Path. It's from Kath Dawson-Courtney. She asks, I have a question about information architecture regarding the redesign of a small 50-page professional services business-to-business site. This client will have about 15 to 20 pages on their different services, which all relate to managing energy. You can buy individual elements of their service, such as procurement, or go for the full service, bells and whistles. I haven't finished working out the journeys that the different audiences will take as yet, but as it's quite a simple site, I'm wondering if there is value in adding folders to create a hierarchy, and whether I'm just as well keeping all the service pages at the top level of domain.com/service.1 and domain.com/service2, etc. It doesn't make sense to divide the services by the type of energy, e.g. electricity, water, gas, etc., as the service is exactly the same. Should have shared my screen. I'm such an idiot. Anyway, we'll fix that. Yes, we have fixed that. Okay, I'll have a navigational path for that journey, but I'm thinking of the information architecture at the moment. Just for context, I'm a lone consultant now, having sold our digital marketing agency 2 years ago. I miss my hugely talented team who I could ask my dumb SEO questions of. So I really appreciate being in this group where I know the advice is always exceptional. This lady is obviously very astute. I can only say that. Okay, guys, have it.
Yeah, so I guess offhand, one of the first things I would ask before making a judgment call on that is what are people actually looking for? Are they searching for those, what was it? All those different services? Are they looking for a variety of different specific types? Usually, and then usually on something like that, that kind of dictates my policy of going, how many pages do we really need? That's probably one of the first things I would consider. Secondarily, if there's not a lot of volume, are they high purchase and high net worth, high purchase intent customers as well? Then it might make sense to actually build a number of pages out where appropriate. Those are kind of the first two I would look at when I'm kind of understanding how many pages to be built. If you're not seeing a lot of volume around the terms, and there's not really the type of people that does that term is not going to be a high purchase intent, it's not going to be a priority. I wouldn't put it as something, like I wouldn't consider it something to be worth it. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, you'd build it out, you'd try to organize the pages, kind of clusters based on what makes sense for how people search and how it's built all together within like the personas or intent, however you think it's going to fit best, and go from there.
Thank you, Micah. Anybody else? Okay, well, it's hard to top that, Micah, obviously. All right, let's go to the, oh, I better tweet that. Let's go to the next. This one from Jack and Mathis. It's titled, "My schema graph has gone down very badly. Is this a penalty?" Jack went on to ask a query on schema. One, other than homepage, if I list website and organization at the category page, product listing page, product page, contact us page, etc., then is it wrong? And will my website be penalized? Two, by mistake at the product listing page, I have implemented listed products as this, schema.org/product, which now I have corrected as schema.org/list item. So again, as per Google, is this a penalty? My schema graph has gone down very badly, but I have not received any message from Google for a manual penalty. The schema guide everywhere is confusing, and people are confused on how to implement this. It should be, there should be an example site. So what Google is doing, no one knows. And also Google should define things. If really a cloaking, then it should be a penalty, but the wrong implementation, which is not really cloaking, good heavens, it should not be a penalty. We're not the judge and jury here, Jack, and it's no good arguing your case with us. Suppose Google gives a penalty, and it should give a reason for what things are wrong and for which penalty occurred. It is a Google monopoly. Yeah, go on, go ahead.
Yeah, this is rambling now, man. It's boring me. Yeah, okay.
Go ahead.
Sorry, guys. I've got the flu and I just don't have patience. So here's the issue, right? Right, you keep going on about penalty. So yeah, the only penalty that Google slaps out for structured data at the minute is when it impacts the user in search, and the only one that does that is your aggregated reviewed your aggregated reviews. So using aggregated reviews incorrectly across all your home pages, across all your pages, for example, and you get the little stars, yeah, in the search results, which may or may not influence a user to click through to that site. That is the only time that structured data markup can actually incorrectly influence a user, and that is the only thing that Google is adding structured data manual penalties for at the minute. If somebody has had a manual penalty for another structured data, let me know, because I haven't seen those out in the wild yet. I've only seen incorrect, an aggregated data markup. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, in between using, let's say, item list and let's say product, if you've got those, if you've got, got that, if it's showing correct in your structured data testing tool, then firstly, that's fine. You've implemented it correctly. However, you may have like what you say, you may have added it onto the wrong kind of page. So whether it be the product or the actual category page, so that may be incorrect. Google is not going to create a structured data penalty because you have incorrectly used a specific type or between product or list item. They're not going to penalize you for that. There's no penalty for that. It's just incorrect markup. However, essentially, what you must remember is, instead of you need to, what may help you is if you are looking at what's actually on the page, because in theory you're meant to be marking up what is on the page, right? So that may help you decide what you're going to be using, whether it be a product or an item list, and how you should be, in theory, marking up what's on that page. So that's that. But as far as I'm aware, there is no manual penalty that I've seen for incorrectly marking up something that's in a list, a product, a music video, a freaking image, a business radius, your address. There's no penalty whatsoever for incorrectly marking up that. The only thing that I've seen a penalty for at this particular point in time, and as I said, someone can correct me, is for aggregated data markup, because that directly affects potential decisions in the search results.
Thank you, Tim. All right, let's move on to the next. This one from Lauren Miller. It's titled URL Structure on an E-commerce Website. Lauren wants to know, is it okay for SEO, as I have an e-commerce website with the URL structure www.example.in/product/product name, or should I change it to www.example.in/category name/product name?
Wow. John Mueller's got it there. Yeah, no, both are fine. The one thing I would kind of qualify with that is to say, to change something in your URL structure, you want to have a larger kind of theme in mind or plan. A lot of mistakes can occur when you're doing a larger URL structural change. So if there's a larger internal reason for that, then you may want to consider switching. But like with anything, that there's always some type of switching cost. So while both are fine to actually have, you do want to take into account the actual cost of switching over to a new structure, if that's the case. But otherwise, yeah, kind of you can stay on the one that you've got and no issues.
Excellent. Yeah, wow, John Mueller jumped in. That's very nice. Nice of him. All right, let me tweet that. And let's go to the next. Dragomir Victor wants to know, should I ask for an index again every time I edit a page? Dragomir said, hi guys, I have a question. When you make changes in an article, should you ask for index again in the Google Search Console?
No, you don't need to, mate. Google will find it. However, if you've changed a page which you published in 2010 that hasn't been visited by Googlebot in 6 months, then you can chuck it into fetch and render just to let just to get it crawled again so that it's updated a bit faster. But if it's something that you published like within the last couple of months that Googlebot's normally finding on a regular basis, no, you don't need to. You don't need to worry about it. If you need it, no, yeah, so that's fine. But if you want it to be reflected as changed, I mean, unless your title has slightly changed or something like that, that's going to reflect differently in the search results, yeah, you can do a fetch and render. But if the title is the same, meta description is the same, it's only a paragraph in there that needed to be changed, or you needed to change something for whatever legal reasons, people will still click through to the new article anyway. Just remember, obviously, if you've got a cache on that page, update your cache on that particular page. But no, Googlebot will find it. But if it was something published years and years and years ago that Googlebot hasn't seen in ages, then yeah, use fetch and render. But no, it's not necessary. They normally find it. If it's in your sitemap also, it'll come across it again and update.
Yeah, like Tim said, it's not often that you really need to use it, but beyond that, I mean, you just consider time sensitivity. So if you need something to go out and be seen really quickly for whatever reason, then yeah, once in a while it's fine, but you don't need to actually go and request every single time.
Excellent. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Micah. And thank you also, Ellen Blue-Eyes and Steve Garanza, Jay Pandin, who chipped in on the Facebook Dumb SEO Questions group. All right. So our next is from Alison Kufta. A lot of ladies tonight, Tim. Alison is asking a question titled, I'm not sure if I am doing the SEO right. Alison said, hi there, I'm using a static site generator and was wondering if you guys think my SEO is okay. My meta tags seem kind of weird when I do site tests. I even set the keywords manually. And I'm not sure if I'm doing things right. Thanks for looking. She gives a URL, which is artres.xyz. Well, you might like to bring Alison up to speed with keywords. No?
Okay, I don't know. I'm a bit confused with it. What's this site generator? I'm not really sure what the heck that is, but so this look. Oh, you've got a shop in here. This looks like a blog. Yeah, but your shop goes to Amazon, so that's so it's a blog.
Well, I'm looking at her meta tags right now. The title tag, I mean, it looks good. The description looks pretty good. She does say that she is using meta keywords, but for the most part, those aren't used anymore. But what she's talking about, probably the site crawler. I imagine that's the sitemap generator she's using, possibly. But in regards to the titles and description, each page should be that call to action within. If you were to pay for a Google ad, how would it display on the right-hand side? What are you actually saying in that message when they land on that page? And I think that's important when you're writing titles and descriptions. But as for a generator, I think that's probably just the sitemap, but I'll probably take a look real quick.
From the name of it, it might be like a site that, like a means to say take a WordPress site and create static pages from it.
Actually, I did find a tag in our source code. It basically says generator content Hugo 0.32. So I don't know what Hugo is, but maybe that's where the meta name generator content equals Hugo 032.
Yeah.
What I would add is if the person is confused as to the meta titles not being added correctly, it's hard for us to say here sitting, they have been added correctly or not, because we don't know what they've actually put in and what's actually coming out on the website. However, if the website's churning out something different from what you're inputting manually, then you've got a problem, because you should be the one that determines what your meta title should be, not some website or some automated bot or whatever the hell's going on there with that website. So obviously you need to do your keyword research and implement that onto your website. And if that doesn't reflect well on your title tags, then it's time to move to another site. I don't know. I'm not sure what that website is. It looks like some form of blog, but as I say, even if you are your meta tags seem to be kind of weird, that would suggest to me that you're suggesting that what you're putting in isn't actually coming out. So I would probably look at changing your website if you have that level of confusion with it.
Yeah, and until Alison gets more comfortable with what she's doing, would it be wrong to suggest that she puts a nice theme on a WordPress site and a copy of Yoast, and that really is most of her SEO taken care of?
Exactly. WordPress, you won't go wrong with WordPress. A lot of people say, "Oh, don't keep going on to WordPress," but it works and it does the job. So there's a lot of these other site things there, things that generate sites or whatever. And I'm not a huge fan of them because they are fairly restrictive from an SEO point of view. So you can't really go wrong with WordPress.
Yeah. Right, let me tweet that. Let's go to the next. Prajwal Pokral asked a question titled Mobile Search Ranking and Desktop Search Ranking. Prajwal went on to ask, hi guys, why is there a huge difference in some sites' mobile ranking and desktop search rankings? One of the sites that I currently look after has a position 12 on mobile and 35 on desktop.
Okay, so there normally is a slight difference. And also, Google's also running out their mobile first index tests. They may be switching. They may be switching there. Not sure, but it hasn't fully run out. They're still running tests and things like that. So that could be one possible. The second one is when you say position 35, where has position 35 come from? What are you using? Are you using a tracker, or are you just manually searching for it? And also mobile. Are you just physically searching in a mobile? Because depending on, especially on mobile, location plays a very important part in the actual result on what you're going to get, more so than an actual, desktop in a normal location. They can produce different results, with one or two, but 12 to 35 seems like a bit, but I would first say, what are you using to check? Even incog now still takes your location into account. There are other things that you can, there are other, some trackers you can just set a standard, or you can set from a, but yeah, I think the first thing is where you're getting these results from. And secondly, just to be aware that Google is working on mobile first index. And the last I saw was they will let us know when it's completely rolled out. They haven't said it's out yet, but the last update I saw was they'll let us know when it's completely rolled out. So I'm assuming it's still in a rollout. Google rolls out in percentages. They don't roll out just boom, gone. They roll out in percentage-wise, and they continually test it. So it is happening. It may have been affected, but that may be something to do with yours, but I don't know yet.
Excellent, Tim. Anybody else? Okay, let's move on to the next. Chase Rayner asks the question, is Google recommending linking to an HTML sitemap on specific pages? I don't think so, Chase. He said, can someone please explain to me what add navigation pages when it makes sense and effectively work these into your internal link structure means? Is Google recommending linking to an HTML sitemap on specific pages? I see Christopher Fishback said yes on our Facebook group. I don't think that's what they're saying, is it?
That's a real odd question. It's quite a confusing question. I mean, adding navigation pages when it makes sense to, and obviously linking throughout the, creating internal links to go to your main navigation pages or your key pages in your website is a common sense approach. That's what internal linking is. Show Google what your main pages are. But I'm not sure where this whole, is Google recommending linking to an HTML sitemap on specific pages? I mean, that's absolute nonsense as far as I'm concerned. I've never heard of anyone recommending that in my life, but each to their own. I don't think Google needs an HTML sitemap listed on all these kind of different pages or whatever. It's you're not giving Google enough credit there if you're going to have to kind of show sitemaps on every other page. That's just madness, in my opinion.
I'm going to go with you, Craig. I reckon it's mad.
I think going back to the question too, HTML sitemaps are only going to do one thing, which is going to be helping the user experience understand the whole site architecture, but not really for the search engine purpose. And utilizing a sitemap XML in your search console may be more effective for Google finding those pages.
Yeah, it's well, I can't say for what the recommendation meant. The HTML sitemap can be useful when done properly on both small scale or large scale. If it wasn't, let's be honest, you wouldn't be seeing what Facebook has, Pinterest has on those sites that essentially leverage massive HTML sitemap pages. And they're structured in ways so that Google, as well as users outside of being logged in, can find all the various public profile pages. So there's proper ways of building those out. We might not always think of them as HTML sitemaps even, but that's essentially what they are. They're just named something a little differently.
Thank you, Micah. Any others? Okay, let's move on. Martin Maguire asked a question titled Implementing Organizational Schema. Martin said, hey guys, so a quick question about schema implementation. I have a client who has various subdomains which represent different brands in their own right, different logos, phone numbers, etc. What would your advice be when registering for Google My Business or implementing organizational schema? Can I treat them as totally separate?
Okay, so right. So if you're talking about Google My Business, these need to actually be, these are businesses. So it would be like Bob's Carpet Shop, Bob's Fish and Chip Shop. So, you know, they may be owned by the same guy, but they're completely different. Therefore, they are allowed a GMB page. Bob's Carpet Shop is at this address, and Bob's Chip Shop is at this address. You should be using local business structured data markup, not organizational. Organizational can go onto your main. Let's say you've got your main page, which talks about all the businesses within the brand. But even within the structured data markup, they are still listed as a local business within a organization. So you should be using local business, and depending on what they are, you may be able to, there are certain local business schemas that are understood, like, doctors, shoe shop, there's a whole list of them that is understood. But if it's something like, I don't know, something that's not understood, then just use the top line of local business. So you should be using local business, not organizational. That's as simple as that. And even if you use the local business within an organizational hierarchy, it would still be as a local business.
Thank you, Tim. Anybody else? Next question from Neil Cheeseman that's titled Linking to my Google Maps review URL. Neil wants to know, is it acceptable or good practice to have a link on your own website for something like a post your review linking to your Google Maps review URL?
Yes, mate. Google even provides you a quick and easy way of doing it. I think I've updated my thing with, shit, I need to update that article on my site. Yes, yeah, that's perfectly acceptable. Google even, Google My Business, their support docs even shows you how to create a quick direct link. You can embed that in an image on your site if you want. So you create the little image, like, hey, review us, and then obviously they click through. But it's the pretty cool link that they help you create, which is the map overlay with the review. So it's like literally just that. They don't have to scroll anywhere else. It's just the review. They go straight into the review. So yeah, do it straight from the Google My Business support stuff. And what was your other one? Yeah, no, that's cool. There's other things just to be aware of. Obviously, for GMB, that's fine. Yelp, you can't do it. There's no, you can't ask. And there's, each provider has their own guidelines. But for the minute, Google My Business, they're cool with you asking for it. So it's not a problem.
Excellent. Tim? Anybody else want to add something to Tim's answer? Giannis Hadj asked a question titled Separate Website as an Online Shop or Keep Everything on the One Website. He said, if a company has a brand website, is it better to have a separate website as an online shop with a blog, or should they keep everything on one website?
One.
It's always
It's
much
amazing.
easier. Sorry,
Yeah.
carry on.
Yeah, totally. It's one, easy to manage. It's, you know, you're not splitting your time, your domain, your authority, just one site. Obviously, sometimes the brand and the shop are completely different, and there's obviously some legal things tied up where people have to have a separate one, and I totally get that. But if you don't have any of those issues with any legalities and ownerships and blah blah blah, one site, job done.
Yeah, 100% agreed. Trying to manage multiple websites, it's hard enough trying to manage one big website and keep on top of it and add all Schema and all these other kind of small tedious tasks have always got to be done, and it's much easier to do that in one big website rather than as Tim says, doing it in multiple websites. I have seen people have success because they've had, for one reason or another, they've had to use another website. However, you want to make your life easier. It's not about working hard here, it's about working smart. And I think working smart, keeping your costs down, your management down, and focusing solely on one website would be 100% the way forward, in my opinion, anyway.
Excellent. Thank you, Craig. All right, let's tweet that. Oh, no, already have. Chase again, he said, I thought Panda worked on a site-wide basis. Somebody in the recent expert round of search engine journals stated, if you have low quality content and the content is not engaging, you might be impacted by Panda. Does Panda actually measure whether or not a page is engaging or low quality? I thought Panda worked on a site-wide basis.
No. So if you've got, no, it's not site-wide. It generally affects the, from what I've seen, well, it kind of depends on the site, actually. But it's not going to be like all of a sudden your site is not going to appear for its domain. It tends to be for more internal things like let's say a product category that you've used another product category and image and all the same, and you've got 10,000 products which are just crap but nonsensical and blah blah blah. It tends to be the product or that product category hierarchy that is affected, not the actual top level side of the site. But that also depends on if it's a site of substance or not in the first instance.
Yeah. Thank you, Tim. All right, I won't tweet that. Another one from Chase. He's very active this week. Schema local markup for addresses that can't be found on Google Maps. He said for remote locations that have 911 addresses and can't be found on Google Maps, how do you suggest verifying these, and how would you use a Schema local markup?
So the simple process is if it's got whatever addresses, and when you're trying to verify the GMB page, and it literally is not allowed, the postcard is not coming to you, then you wait 14 days as described, and then get hold of business support, who will then either do a phone verification, video verification, or request other information over via email, to verify that the business is actually at that location itself. And once it is verified, it will be, obviously it will be found within Maps once you've verified it. However, putting that aside, and how would you use Schema local markup? Well, if that's the physical address of the location, then that is what you use within your local business markup. You can't change the guy's address. If that's his address, that's what you use in your structured data markup, because that's what you're going to have on your site. You're not going to not have the guy's address on his site because Google Maps doesn't recognize it. That's his address, and that's what you're going to mark up. So putting all that aside, you still use that address because that's his actual address.
Yeah, I have a question. What is a 911 address? No?
I don't know what a 911 address is.
I thought 911 was the emergency number.
Yeah.
I thought that was real.
Yeah, but an address. So what? 911 Regal Close. That's an address. I mean, it's still a number of the property. I think you need to clarify what he means by remote. I don't know what he means by remote locations. So like, I'm just assuming he meant like rural, and yeah, so Google Maps sometimes doesn't detect it, but it would still have a road or a street attached to it, or it could be like a barn, even a farm, but it would still be 911 Old McDonald's Farm, Tennessee, whatever. It would still have a physical address. And that would still be the physical address regardless. And that's what's on the website, on the business, on all the marketing material. And that is what you mark up, because that is it. It's Google's job to then actually recognize that and put the business where it's meant to be.
Yep. Thank you, Tim. Taker Jenna Leeds asked the question, do I lose traffic because I have set a target country? I asked him on his post on the Facebook group, Dumb SEO Questions, what the TLD was, but he didn't answer. So, but I'm guessing it's a .com, and he's set the preferred country to USA. But anyway, Taker said, Happy New Year, guys. He said, I've set the preferred country to USA in Google Search Console. Of course, I prefer USA and European traffic, but actually my website is for worldwide users. Do I lose a lot of traffic because I have set a target country, or it's okay and I don't lose anything?
So personally, I think it's kind of a mute thing now, setting this in Google Search Console, because Google a while back is literally trying to display, country specific to your actual IP address, location-based searches anyway. Having said that, no, look, you can set it to the USA, but you're not going to exclude any traffic coming to you in any way, shape, or form. I'll give you an example. My site's a .com, but I'm in the UK, and I have actually set it to UK, but my content, a lot of my content is applicable to everyone globally who can obviously speak English and or read English rather. And I would say it's actually slightly more. I'd say about 60% of my traffic, is US based, even though I've set it at UK. The reason for this is because if you build up a certain level of authority and you answer a specific question, why did the pink fluffy elephant cross the road? And regardless of where someone searched in the world, why did the pink fluffy elephant cross the road? If you have provided the best possible answer to why did that pink fluffy elephant cross the road, it's going to show you that answer in the search results, your site, no matter where in the world or what, you know, you've set it at. So no, it's not going to make a massive, no, you're not going to lose a massive amount by setting that in any way, shape or form, as long as the language is there and, you know, they're searching for something specific. No, it won't exclude you.
Thank you, Tim. Anyone else want to add anything to that? Okay. This one from Amit Kumar on what are the key elements to keep in mind when selecting keywords. Amit said, hi, how do I find the best keywords for app optimization for Google Play Store and App Store? This is really outside of our job description, I think. He said, what are the key elements to keep in mind when selecting keywords? Thanks.
I mean, it's hard for us to say how to find the best keywords for Google Play Store and App Store. But with regards to selecting keywords, you know, you always want to do your research properly and make sure you are picking the keywords that are going to allow your app to appear more prominently. That's the only way you can really do that. But in terms of how to find the best keywords for you know, Google Play Store or App Store, something I certainly have never done in my life, so I'm not able to answer that part.
Yeah, we produced an absolutely brilliant app years and years ago, maybe about 2010. But it's the most gamed area. Really, if you want to succeed, Amit Kumar, what you need is to do like the Chinese do and put together a harness together 100 mobile phones and just have someone employed to sit there and download your app. You get another 100 people to give you a fake review. I mean, it's no good. You just simply cannot succeed doing it straight. And to be honest, I don't know how to succeed at it, but certainly it's a very much it's the Wild West. Anyway, does anyone want to heap insults on me for being so miserable? No? Okay.
Yeah, you're a twat.
See, that's why we love you. This one from Eunice Bermeen. Eunice asked the question titled, does keyword density still matter? No, never did. Did it? Anyway, he said, my first 2018 dumb SEO question. Does keyword density still matter? As in, if a post is ranking not too bad and I add in a couple of keywords in good places, will it improve the ranking position? Also, I would love to learn more about how Google actually deals with keywords. Thanks.
I mean, that one, I've seen that question on the group, and it was well answered by a lot of well-known SEO experts, and you know, you'll be able to see all the answers on there anyway. I think it was very well answered, and people were back and forth debating and stuff like that. As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter. But you know, for Eunice to want to understand more about how Google works, you know, that's obviously the million-dollar question that no one does know the answer to how Google deals with anything. That information is never obviously released. But in terms of you know, you've got Amon Johns there when you're flicking through, and quite a lot of other people are all answering the question and I think pretty much the general consensus was it never has mattered, so it certainly still doesn't matter in 2018.
Yeah. Yeah, you're quite right. I just had a look through those, and it was well answered on the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group. Thank you, Craig. All right. Sorry. Rakesh Sankara asks a question titled, "How many keywords can I target for a single website?" It's a serious question, I guess. We had a lot of humor in the responses. But yeah, how many keywords can you target?
Okay, so it depends what you want to target in the sense that makes sense to what your single website does. I mean, I don't know what your website does. So let's say you sell tires. Right? Well, your keywords would be limited to tires, the size, the make, the models, the thickness of the rubber, the tread depth, the how often do I change it to winter tires. That is your limitation of your keywords. Also, your limitation is by the product. So let's say you only sell Pirelli tires. Well, it's going to be limited to Pirelli because you can't use Dunlop tires because you don't sell them. Correct? You could do an article, on a blog comparing Pirelli to Dunlop and why you don't sell the Dunlops as opposed to Pirellis, but you're not going to target Dunlop. So it all depends on what your site is, right? So understand your site, your service, or your product. Research your site, your service, and your product. And depending on what you have or you are presenting to the public is going to depend on what your keywords ultimately are going to be and some synonyms around them. But, you can't, like I said, it may be tires, but if you don't sell the Dunlops, you exclude Dunlops. So, use a little bit of common sense.
Okay. All right. Nobody with anything to add to that? Right. Let's move to the next. This one from Daniel Mort. He doesn't want to lose the rankings. He said, I have a website ranking great in a few close, somewhat smaller towns. I'm thinking about moving to a different, larger city or state, but I don't want to lose the rankings in the towns I already have by changing my current site. If I purchase a new domain and just copy most of my current site, text, structure, design, and possibly even go by a new alias, will Google recognize this as duplicate content? The second site copied most of the content of the first. What might be the best way to handle this?
I mean, obviously, Google is going to, Google's not daft. It can see duplicate content, and that's an instant thing. But by moving to a bigger city doesn't mean you can't work with the same website and add more pages and stuff like that. I mean, you would certainly never go and create another website for another city. It's similar to what we suggested earlier with the e-commerce website. Why manage two websites when you can have one website? For example, Tim's sitting down in Corby in the UK. Tim can rank in America, he can rank in Holland, whatever, by optimizing his website for different keywords, different areas, or different questions, or whatever the hell Tim wants to do. And this guy's no different. Stick with one website. You don't want to be throwing up another website and get penalized for duplicate content. That's a big no-no anyway. But certainly, because you're moving city, doesn't mean that you can still retain your rankings and add other location pages or whatever you want to do. It's quite a simple and easy process. To be fair, it's something that you should certainly be doing with one website.
Excellent, Craig. There won't be a better answer than that. Oh, sorry, I'm wrong. There was.
No, just to add to, I think I kind of know what the issue is because I had this conversation with shrink, an anxiety therapist guy who's got a couple of locations. So I think I know what the issue is his a couple of smaller towns, things like that. His main site's ranking for that, and he's literally optimized, or at least thought he'd optimized for that particular city and town, and now he's moving to another location or opening another location, and it's how to actually incorporate that. So like Craig said, it's how you structure those locations, because you've probably used the actual entire site, let's say for that little location that you're at now, and haven't included before this other location. You may want to reconsider just a site restructure, in the sense that your products and services now are top line, which you use instead of targeting a town, it becomes a state as such. But you're not changing anything, because you have specific location pages for that business. So what you was before was your whole site was just for, like where I am, like Corby. Now you've got two locations. So you've got one in Corby and one in London. Now you're going to have a specific location page for the Corby and a specific location page on site for your London office. The rest of your site will work for the larger area and your content, and those are your two specific location pages for those specific locations. Nothing's really going to change. You just a restructure to have two actual location pages, and plus you'll have the locations listed in your footer anyway for your structured data markup. I mean, anywhere up to 4 locations in your footer. Anything more, then it gets a bit weird, and you just need to have a good location navigation bar if you want, for different cities and states and things like that. But if it's only 2 or 3 businesses, then they're in your footer for structured data markup. So yeah, just revisit. There's another. There's a great. I think it's on Search Engine Land. I think just search something like the best. Sorry, give me 2 secs and I'll find it. I think it's Search Engine Land. I think just something like the best location landing page. And there's a really cool little PDF that I think Bowler Hat did years ago, and it gives you a great idea on how to create a really nice location landing page. So give that a bash, and it should keep you in the right direction.
Excellent. All right, we're down to one article left in our run list tonight, and I just want to preface it by saying that SEMrush provide gratis guru subscriptions to a number of our panelists on Dumb SEO Questions, and they have done for many, many years. And so I've got a soft spot for SEMrush, and I will say that this article, Mark Trepagan is absolutely wrong. He said, SEMrush now says no follow links to a site are actually a ranking factor. I say they've once again wrongly assumed that anything that correlates must be a direct factor. What say all of ye? The thing is that this is not a statement of SEMrush's. It's a statement of a guy writing on the SEMrush blog. And the only crime that SEMrush has committed is that they posted this blog. I would have deleted this post, but there were some brilliant responses, some great answers. It was most interestingly done. But I'm very unhappy that Mark has seen fit to bring this into our community. If he's got a problem with SEMrush, let him do it. But don't do it again, Mark. Otherwise, we'll start talking about the Google authorship calculator. Anyway.
So I'm not going to wade into the actual debate yet because I haven't read it. So I haven't read it. To anyone viewing this and thinking, you know, oh, what about no follows? Because Jesus, you know, no follows and all these and links is a freaking minefield for people starting out in the industry, and we get tons of questions about, oh, a follow link and a no follow. So if anyone's actually thinking, oh my God, what's going on with this follow link and no follow? I haven't read the article yet, but I do want to say this. Let's say, you know, I would say, you know, don't just look at a site or attempt to engage with another site out there just because they may or may not use, you know, a no follow or a follow on a link pointing to you. If you can brand or market your site and someone is happy to help you, whether it's a follow or no follow, you know, great, go for it. I would never restrict that. And my analogy here is always and will always be that if the Times writes a write-up, you know, in their tech blog about your great new pink fluffy elephant blow-up bed, right? That is the greatest gift to 15-year-old girls out there in the world, okay? And they write an absolutely stonking, you know, review about the product for you. But the links are no follow, right? Are you going to phone them up and freak out because you've just had, you know, 60,000, you know, 15-year-old girls log onto your site, and out of those 15,000, 2,000 have placed an order? Do you honestly care whether that's no follow or do follow? So what I'm trying to say to you is market your site. Don't worry about whether it's a follow or do follow. Market your website, you know, and, you know, in places where you feel comfortable, that can give you some brand visibility, that can give, you know, can help you market it. Forget about your follows and no follows and do follows. All right.
Thank you, Tim.
Perfect advice. Totally agree with what Tim says there. Obviously, I do work with SEMrush. You know, I'm a host on their webinar and a big fan of the tool. And I have seen this Mark debate previously, and it does seem that he does have a bee in his bonnet about SEMrush and stuff like that. But as Tim says, you know, I think this whole follow, no follow is something that people obsess over. It's perfectly natural for people to have an element of no follow and do follow links anyway. So it's certainly not something I would be worrying about. It's all about the traffic and you know, the other metrics that come from that traffic. Can, you know, that's where there's always going to be debate. You know, people tell you that click-through rate's a ranking factor, and can your click-through rate be improved because you get a ton of traffic from a no-follow link? 100%. And as Tim says, the bottom line is here, it's all about money and revenue. And, you know, if you get a link from the Times, which is a no-follow link, and someone places 2,000 orders, then who cares? You know, it's hugely valuable. And, you know, I, for one, would be queuing up at the door for that Times link rather than some follow link on some geezer's blog post. Yeah, be careful what you read out there, because it can just confuse things altogether. You know, you've got people, even to this day, obsessing over that link better be follow, and they're watching it, and, you know, just get a link, and you know, I think if you do that on high quality websites, then what you're due will come naturally. If you're getting links in the right places, regardless of whether they're follow or not.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Tim. All right. I've got a feeling that I know what's going to happen when I click this. Yes, it is that time again. It's thank you for watching time. We've answered all of the questions asked on the SEO Questions community on Google+, and on the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group. We thank you for watching. I see we have eyeballs still looking at us right now, and we thank you very much. Your interest in what we do makes what we do worthwhile, and your participation is so valuable. Anyway, we'll be back at the same time next week to do this all again. But for now, it's good night, and we'll see you next week.